After the age of 60, strength does not disappear because the body has reached a limit, but because the signals that once reminded muscles to stay awake become quieter over time. What many people misunderstand is that muscle tissue is not driven only by force or intensity, but by clarity of instruction. Intentional, precise movement sends a clear message to the body that strength is still required. In Japanese movement traditions, often practiced by older adults, the emphasis is not on pushing harder, but on moving with purpose. Slow rises from a seated position, controlled shifts of weight, and deliberate pauses at points of tension tell the muscles exactly when to engage and how long to stay active. From a biological perspective, muscle fibers respond to these signals by recruiting stabilizing units that walking alone rarely activates. Walking is rhythmic and valuable, but it often becomes automatic, requiring little conscious engagement from deeper muscle layers. Precision breaks that automation. When movement is intentional, the brain increases motor unit recruitment, especially in muscles responsible for joint protection and posture. This is critical after 60, when loss of strength often begins in these deeper systems rather than in visible muscle mass. Scientific observation shows that muscles thrive when movements are repeated with attention, not exhaustion. Precision allows older adults to train without overwhelming joints or triggering inflammation. It creates strength that feels calm rather than strained, and sustainable rather than fragile. The body responds to this kind of movement by increasing muscle density, improving coordination, and restoring trust between the nervous system and the limbs. Strength, in this sense, becomes a conversation rather than a command. Each controlled movement tells the body it is still capable, still adaptable, and still worthy of effort, and the body listens, gradually rebuilding power from the inside out. The idea that aging alone causes weakness is one of the most persistent misunderstandings in health, especially after 60. In reality, the body does not lose strength simply because time passes, but because certain systems stop receiving meaningful stimulation. Muscles are biologically economical tissues. They adapt to what is asked of them and quietly let go of what is not. When daily life becomes repetitive and movement patterns narrow, muscles that stabilize the hips, knees, and ankles are used less often, and they begin to fade not from damage, but from neglect. Japanese exercise philosophies for older adults recognize this distinction and respond by reintroducing gentle challenges that awaken underused pathways. From a scientific standpoint, muscle loss is closely tied to reduced neural input. When the brain sends fewer signals to a muscle, that muscle gradually shrinks and weakens, regardless of age. Joint instability does not follow because joints are worn out, but because the surrounding muscles are no longer actively supporting them. Under-stimulation creates uncertainty in movement, and the body responds by limiting range and power as a protective strategy. What is remarkable is how quickly this process can reverse when stimulation returns. Slow, deliberate exercises that require balance, alignment, and control increase communication between the nervous system and the muscles. This renewed dialogue restores tension where it is needed and relaxation where it is not. Research consistently shows that older muscles retain the ability to grow stronger when properly stimulated, even well into later decades of life. The body does not ask for intensity, it asks for relevance. When movement becomes varied, intentional, and slightly challenging, muscles remember their role. Stability returns, confidence grows, and joints feel supported again, not because age has been defeated, but because the body has been reminded of how to function with purpose and coordination. Balance is often misunderstood as a matter of strong legs, but in truth it is a dialogue between the brain, the inner ear, the eyes, and the muscles that respond to subtle shifts in position. After 60, this dialogue can become quieter, not because the system is broken, but because it is no longer being practiced. Walking, while beneficial, follows predictable patterns and offers limited challenge to the balance network. The brain quickly learns the rhythm and no longer needs to actively adjust.
Balance training, as seen in many Japanese movement routines for older adults, reintroduces uncertainty in a controlled and safe way. Standing on one leg, shifting weight slowly, or changing direction deliberately forces the nervous system to stay alert and responsive. Scientifically, this type of movement strengthens neural pathways responsible for proprioception, the body's ability to sense its position in space. These pathways are crucial for preventing falls, yet they weaken when not regularly used. Balance improves not by tiring the legs, but by sharpening the brain's interpretation of sensory input. Each small correction trains the nervous system to respond faster and more accurately. Over time, the body becomes more stable not because muscles grow larger, but because coordination improves. This explains why people with modest muscle strength can still move with confidence, while others with stronger legs may feel unsteady. Neurological training teaches the body to trust itself again. It rebuilds the reflexes that catch a stumble before it becomes a fall. The mind plays a central role here, as attention enhances learning within the nervous system. When movements are slow and deliberate, the brain remains engaged, strengthening the connections that maintain balance. In this way, stability becomes a learned skill rather than a physical trait, one that can be refined and preserved at any age through thoughtful and consistent practice. As the body ages, the instinct to protect joints often leads people to move less, believing that rest is the safest choice. Yet joints are living structures that depend on movement for nourishment and resilience. Controlled strength and stability exercises offer a form of protection that walking alone cannot provide. When muscles surrounding a joint are activated with intention, they act as dynamic support systems, absorbing force and guiding motion with precision. Scientific understanding shows that joints remain healthiest when they experience gentle loading within a safe range. This kind of loading stimulates the production of synovial fluid, which lubricates joint surfaces and delivers nutrients to cartilage. Without it, joints become stiff and more vulnerable to injury. Stability-focused movements teach the body how to distribute weight evenly and respond to shifts without panic. This is especially important for the knees, hips, and ankles, where instability often leads to falls. Exercises that involve slow transitions, controlled holds, and balanced postures train both muscles and the nervous system to work together. The result is movement that feels supported rather than forced. Fall risk decreases not because the body becomes rigid, but because it becomes adaptable. The muscles learn to respond smoothly to unexpected changes in terrain or direction. Confidence grows as the body demonstrates its ability to recover from imbalance. Research consistently links improved muscular control with reduced injury risk in older adults. Strength, when developed thoughtfully, does not strain the joints, it shields them. Stability becomes a quiet form of safety, allowing movement to remain fluid and expressive rather than cautious and restricted, and the body begins to move with assurance rather than fear, as trust in its own structure gradually returns. Intentional movement in later life is not just a physical act, but a psychological one that reshapes how a person relates to their own body. As strength, balance, and coordination improve through thoughtful exercise, something deeper begins to shift. Movements that were once avoided out of fear slowly become possible again. The body sends new signals of reliability, and the mind responds by loosening its grip on caution. Scientific studies of aging consistently show that confidence and physical ability are closely linked. When people feel capable, they move more, and when they move more, their functional capacity expands. This creates a positive feedback loop that supports independence. Exercises practiced with attention restore not only muscle activation, but also decision-making speed and reaction time. These changes influence everyday actions such as standing up, turning, reaching, or navigating uneven ground. Independence is preserved not by avoiding risk, but by training the body to manage it. Intentional movement teaches the nervous system that challenges can be met with control rather than collapse. Over time, this awareness transforms how older adults engage with their environment. Tasks that once felt overwhelming become manageable, and life feels less constrained by physical limitations. Confidence rebuilds quietly through repetition and success, rather than through force or ambition. Functional strength becomes a source of dignity, allowing individuals to rely on their own abilities rather than constant assistance. The body, when guided patiently, remembers how to support itself. This remembrance carries emotional weight, reinforcing a sense of autonomy and purpose. Movement becomes an expression of self-trust, and through that trust, advanced age is no longer defined by restriction, but by resilience, adaptability, and the freedom to participate fully in daily life. Intentional movement becomes especially powerful in advanced age because it restores a sense of agency that time often erodes. When the body is moved with awareness rather than urgency, each action reinforces the idea that control has not been lost, only dormant. Scientific understanding of motor learning shows